Welcome to another serial press conference themed Embarking on a New Journey, a Government Perspective. It is the 12th in the serial. Today we're honored to have with us Mr. Wang Jun. He will brief us on better harnessing taxation to deliver high-quality economic and social development and answer your questions. We are also happy to have with us Mr. Wang Daoshu, Deputy Commissioner of the STA, Mr. Luo Tianshu, Chief Accountant of STA, Mr. Cai Zili, Chief Auditor of STA. And next, I'll give the floor to Mr. Wang Jun. Friends from the press, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's a great pleasure to attend today's press conference and meet all of you, and also answer your questions. Media outlets and the whole society have long been closely following and supporting taxation work and taxation departments. Taking this opportunity, and on behalf of the State Taxation Administration and the other three speakers, I would like to pay my sincere tribute and heartfelt gratitude to all of you. Since this year, despite the severe and complex international environment and faced with the arduous domestic task of reform and development, the CPC Central Committee, with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, has united and led the whole party and all people in China to efficiently coordinate between domestic and international dynamics, prioritize the overall improvement of economic operation. We have set off to a good start in economic development this year. Tax revenue serves as a barometer of the economy. Companies issue invoices whenever they sell products. Therefore, we tapped into the advantages of VAT invoices and other big data in taxation. They are time-sensitive and elaborate with a wide coverage. Thus, can reflect the macroeconomic trend in a timely, objective, and comprehensive manner. Here, I want to show you a chart. It demonstrates the changes in sales revenue growth of companies from January last year till yesterday. From the chart, you can see that in the past 15 months, the sales revenue growth of companies nationwide is defined by two V-shaped curves, or a W-shaped curve. The first V happened when the growth rate of sales revenue of companies decreased from 6.6% from January to February last year to the lowest point in April at minus 7.4%. And then in June, the growth rate jumped back to 7.5%. That's the first V curve. And the second V curve happened when the number began to fluctuate downward last July to the second lowest point at minus 3.1% in December. That's the lowest point for the second V curve at minus 3.1%. As we steadily enter a new phase in COVID-19 response effort and macroeconomic policies started to deliver. Since this year, business sales revenue growth gradually rebounded. From a year-on-year perspective, the growth rate was 4.7% in the first quarter of this year, and from a month-on-month perspective, compared with the fourth quarter of last year, the number was up by 6.2 percentage points. Monthly growth kept increasing to the third quarter of this year. That is 12.8% year-on-year growth. Taxation data also demonstrates that companies now have greater confidence in future production and operation. In March, company procurements nationwide was up by 14.1% year-on-year, or 12.8 percentage points higher than January and February. In the first 5 days of April, the number further increased to 23.8% year-on-year. Larger procurements for companies means greater output in the future. Given a relatively low number in April last year, that is the lowest point in the first V curve, as well as positive effect of macroeconomic policies, we're very confident that in April, the year-on-year growth rate for sales revenue will be higher than that in March. From April the 1st to the 5th, data shows that sales revenue rose to a 21.2% of growth year-on-year. In short, from the data that I gave you, what I want to emphasize here is that as we enter the first year for fully implementing the guiding principles set out at the 20th CPC National Congress, the Chinese economy has shown a good momentum at the very beginning of 2023. With monthly growth, and this momentum will continue throughout the year. The 20th National Congress has drawn an ambitious blueprint for building a modern socialist country in all respects and advancing the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation on all fronts through a Chinese path to modernization. The Central Economic Work Conference, the National Two Sessions, and the new government have made important instructions on advancing China's economic and development, setting up higher requirements for taxation reform and development. Our departments must further enhance political stance, better understand the stage that we are in, implement the decisions of the Central Committee and State Council, and try our best to provide good services for taxpayers. We need to play a better role and enhance our functions in taxation so as to get off to a good start and better serve Chinese modernization with taxation modernization. First, we need to further enhance the political work in taxation authorities. The CPC Central Committee's deployment must always be implemented with concrete actions. We will earnestly study and implement Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era, resolutely implement the general requirement of enhancing study and political integrity for new achievements through practice. We need to take the responsibilities through in-depth study and research and strive forward relentlessly so that the political work in taxation authorities can break new ground. With better performance in taxation work and new achievements in the future. Second, we need to take serving high-quality development as top priority. High-quality development is the priority of building a modern socialist country in all respects, and the primary responsibility of taxation departments. All taxation work must focus on high-quality development. We will continue to collect tax in accordance with law and regulations, resolutely avoid overtaxation, and consolidate the financial foundation for high-quality development. We will actively study and resolutely implement preferential policies to promote economic recovery at a faster pace and incentivize the market for high-quality development. We will continue to provide innovative services by improving targeted supervision and responding to people's real needs. So as to create a good taxation environment for high-quality development. Third, we need to deepen reform and take innovative measures in implementation. We need to earnestly implement the requirements of the Party Central Committee on doubling down on research and studies and the instructions of the new government. We need to take different perspectives, understand realities on the ground, and adopt effective measures. We need to work with all our hearts, minds, and strength to fully implement with innovative steps in order to enhance the effectiveness of our work. With all of these efforts, we want to enhance the role of taxation as the pillar in national governance. With that, my colleagues and I are ready to take your questions. Now the floor is open for questions. Just now, the speaker talked about taxation data, and data shows that we have set off to a good start in economic development. Can you brief us more on this?
Thank you very much for your further question. I think your question is mainly about the economic performance in the first quarter of this year. I will break it down into 6 different aspects. First, more robust economic performance. I have briefly talked about the overall performance of the Chinese economy. Now, I will do a sector-specific analysis so that you can have a better understanding of it. In March, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, across the 473 mid-sized categories and 1,382 small categories, 79.7% and 75.8% respectively have achieved positive growth. And the figure was around 56% in January and February. From the 1st to 5th of April, "86.9% and 82.3% were the figure that have achieved positive growth in the mid-sized categories and small-sized categories. The reason I bring this figure to your attention is that we are approaching the pre-pandemic level back in 2019. Second, business entities are becoming more vibrant. The number of entities that have become contributors to tax income are increasing. In the first quarter, 3.344 million entities were added, up by 7.2% year-on-year, 8 percentage points faster than the growth last year. In addition, the business entities that were hard hit by the pandemic and facing difficulties are becoming more vibrant. In March, business entities with invoices and income declaration increased compared with January and February by 3.12 million and 2.08 million, respectively. Third, industrial production is witnessing a strong rebound. In March, industrial enterprises' sales revenue rose 7% year-on-year, 1.2 percentage points faster compared with last year. In particular, equipment manufacturing, communications equipment manufacturing increased by 36.4% and 12% year-on-year, respectively. This happens in the context of a year-on-year decline of PPI. The rise in sales revenue is even more valuable. In March, purchases of manufacturing machinery and equipment increased by 13.5% year-on-year, 7.1 percentage points faster than last year. It mirrors the increasing willingness of enterprises to expand production and upgrade their equipment. Fourth, consumption is recovering. In the first quarter, accommodation, catering, cultural, sports and entertainment, these are contact-based services. Recovery in these aspects is significant. I believe you can all sense this shift in your life. Sales revenue rose by 22.8, 13.7, and 9.4% respectively year on year. They are 22.7, 17.6, and 6.5 percentage points faster than last year. This has already exceeded the pre-pandemic level in 2019. Average retail sales of goods is also steadily and rapidly recovering, with sales revenue growing by 11.6%, 3.4 percentage points faster than last year. It is also worth noting that consumption in the housing sector is showing signs of rebound. Sales revenue in the real estate sector from January to February have rebounded from a negative territory to a positive territory, up 2.3% year on year, 19.5 percentage points faster than last year. And in March, that growth rate increased further by 17.9% year on year. Fifth, we are seeing stronger driving force for innovation. In March, sales revenue of high-tech industries grew by 15.6% year on year, 5.7 percentage points faster than last year. Information technology and technology application industry grew faster on average, up by 45.5% and 19.8% year on year, respectively. In March, the core industries of the digital economy grew by 14.1% year on year, 7.3 percentage points faster than last year. The digital factor-driven industry, digital technology application industry are growing faster, increasing by 24.5% and 19.8% year on year. Sixth, green development is developing more rapidly. In the first quarter, ecological protection and environmental management industry sales revenue increased by 18.1%. Wind energy, solar PV, and other clean energy generation increased by 21.8%. These are encouraging trends of improvement, as they are significantly faster than the national average. NEVs manufacturing sales revenue, in particular, has increased notably. In the first quarter, a significant increase of 111.5% was the number last year. Even on that high base, this year we are still seeing 35.2% year-on-year growth in the sales of new energy vehicles. As we are seeing this trend to the upside in the economy, we still need to be fully aware that we are facing a large number of uncertainties and instability in domestically and internationally. We need to further drive high-quality development and solve problems in our economic development. We are confident that we will be able to achieve the target of around 5% growth annually, but that requires our concerted and painstaking efforts in all sectors. Thank you very much. Next question, please. Thank you. From China Daily. In the 20th Party Congress, it is stated clearly that the real economy should be the main driver of economic development. What are the major progress in the recent years? What will be the future policy measures? Now I will give the floor to Mr. Cai Zili. The manufacturing sector is at the core of our economy. Over the years, the Central Committee and the State Council have introduced a number of tax and fee cuts. And the manufacturing sector is the focus of our efforts. We are rolling out a policy to increase the VAT tax refund and super deduction for R&D expenses. These measures have effectively supported the manufacturing sector and give them a greater driver of development. The manufacturing sector is supported to a great extent. First, the largest scale in terms of tax and fee cut. Since 2018, the manufacturing sector has benefited the most. In total, over 3.5 trillion yuan was reduced in terms of tax and fee, which makes it the sector that has benefited the most from tax and fee cut. Second, tax and fee burden has been reduced to the largest extent. This measure has alleviated corporate burden. Major taxpayer companies in 2022 have witnessed their burden go down by 23.3% compared with 2017. In particular, equipment manufacturing witnessed a drop of 29.5%, making it the sector that has witnessed the biggest drop in tax and fee burden. Third, we are offering greater help to the manufacturing sector. Statistics show that from 2018 to 2022, average growth of sales revenue in manufacturing sector grew by 9.4%, and in particular, sales revenue growth of manufacturing of equipment have increased by 10.3%. Smart purchases, R&D, and energy conservation equipment increased by 13.5%. In 2022, the added value in the manufacturing sector account for 27.7% in GDP, 1.4 percentage point faster than 2020. This is a steady progress with improved quality. Going forward, we will continue to act on the instructions of the Central Committee and the State Council and continue to deliver on the supportive policies of tax and fee cuts and facilitate high-quality development of the manufacturing sector. We will strive to create an enabling environment for this advanced manufacturing industry. First, support high-end development. We will continue our favorable tax policies for high-tech companies and encourage them to use accelerated depreciation in their income revenue. We will also facilitate digitization of the manufacturing sector. Third, we will guide the green development of this sector. companies using environmental protection and conservation equipment will be offered tax credit. This will encourage them to decarbonize and transition toward green development, which will be beneficial of the green development in the manufacturing sector across the country. Thank you. Next question, please. It is said that this year more proactive fiscal policy will be adopted. Could you elaborate on that? What are the future policy actions? Thank you. Thank you for your question. Preferential tax and fee policy is part and parcel of our proactive fiscal policy. Since the beginning of this year, in line with the decision of the Central Committee and the State Council, relevant authorities have issued 2 batches of tax and fee cuts and optimize the implementation of such policy. It is expected that annually tax reduction will be 1.2 trillion yuan. With the implementation of the VAT tax refund policy, it is expected that annual tax burden will be cut by 1.8 trillion yuan. There are 3 features. First, continuity. We will continue or double down on those effective policies. For instance, urban land use tax will be cut by half for companies using the land for commodity storage. We will anchor public expectations. Second, more targeted approach and optimize those that need to be improved. SMEs and self-employed households, we will cut their VAT tax to alleviate their burden. It shows our support for SMEs. Third, more systematic, and we will take an innovative approach. R&D super deduction rate is raised from 75% to 100%, which will help create an enabling tax environment to stimulate innovation-driven investment. Some of the ad hoc arrangements that have achieved the desired effect will be exited. This will facilitate the standardization of the tax policy system, but also create a level playing field for all companies. Going forward, we will continue to implement the decisions of the Party Central Committee and the State Council and focus on 4 aspects. First, we will double down on our work. April is the month of concentrated collection for enterprises and tax payments. We will roll out new measures and take more targeted approach to roll out our policies. We will refine the caliber of our policy implementation and ensure that taxpayers know our policy and will benefit from them. Second, we will continue to assess and evaluate our implementation. Assessment of implementation is part of our research-oriented work. We will focus on the assessment of policy effects and promote the effectiveness of policy implementation. Third, we will optimize our work. We are listening to different suggestions, address difficulties, and adopt a rapid response mechanism so that preferential tax policies will be delivered rapidly and effectively. Fourth, We will work with relevant departments to follow closely the economic performance, focus our efforts on building China into a strong manufacturing country, advance innovation-driven development, enrich our toolbox, and better serve high-quality development. Thank you. Next question, please. Thank you. The Central Committee and the State Council have paid tremendous attention on the development of the private sector. What are the measures your administration has taken?
Thank you for your question. General Secretary Xi Jinping emphasized that private businesses and entrepreneurs are part of the family. As the Commissioner of the State Taxation Administration, my point of view is that the private sector is a major source of support and our relatives. They contribute over 50% in taxation contribution, serving as the pillar of national finance. Therefore, our attitude towards the private sector can be reflected in the following three aspects. First, when we implement policies, we will always give private companies equal treatment. In the past 5 years, newly implemented tax and fee cuts and deferrals for the private sector exceeded 8 trillion RMB, accounting for nearly 70%. It is particularly worthwhile to mention that self-employed individuals and 80% of self-employed individuals don't have to pay tax anymore. With the supporting policies in place, looking forward, we will, as always, formulate and fully and faithfully implement supporting policies that benefit the private sector. Second, as we provide taxation services, we will always give special attention to the private sector. In the services provided by taxation departments nationwide, 80% of taxation services are given to private businesses on a preferential basis. Among the serial measures of existing taxation services, nearly 80% were designed especially for SMEs and self-employed individuals. The STA also set up a special service office for SMEs under the service department. And together with the All China Federation of Industry and Commerce, we have launched the special campaign to support SMEs for 2 consecutive years. And this year, we will also roll out more service measures. Third, as we help companies weather the difficulties, we will continue to make utmost effort to help private companies. In the past 5 years, to address difficulties in financing faced by private companies, we have enhanced interactions between banks and taxation departments. Tax credits of companies will be provided to financial institutions as a major reference when they deliver loans for private companies. This effort has helped SMEs to get 22,046 loans totaling 6.22 trillion RMB. To address the disrupted industrial chains and supply chains faced by those private sectors, we will continue to improve the platform named National Taxpayer Supply Chain Search Service and help companies find demand and supply so as to reinforce and upgrade industrial chains. Thank you. Next question, please. The State Council and the Central Committee attaches great importance to innovation. What are the measures taken by the STA, and what are the future steps in technological innovation? Thank you. Thank you for your question. Looking forward, according to the decisions of the Central Committee and State Council, we will further enhance preferential tax and fee policies to support the coverage and depth of technological innovation from different links of innovation. From 2018 to 2022, tax and fee deduction to supporting technological innovation has grown by 28.8% on average. In 2022, 1.3 trillion RMB has been deducted, which has effectively unleashed the potential of innovation. Here, I want to give you some numbers. First, we see more innovation funds. From 2018 to 2022, company R&D investment has grown by 25.1% year-on-year. To enhance their capacity, companies have purchased equipment and services, and this expense has been up by 11.5% and 18.3% respectively. Second, we see greater innovation vitality. In the past 5 years, taxpayers in high-tech industries has grown by 9.1% on average. Despite the higher standards of setting up high-tech companies, the growth rate exceeds the overall annual growth rate of all entities in the market. And third, we see better momentum in innovation. In the past 5 years, high-tech revenue has grown by 16.1% on average, 5.5 percentage points higher than the industrial average. Looking forward, our department will continue our efforts in the following 4 aspects. First, we support both fundamental research and application. More concrete steps will be adopted to support company investment in fundamental research and innovation application. Encourage more research results to be applied in reality. Second, we will support both emerging sectors and traditional sectors. We will further implement preferential policies to support new IT technologies and NEVs. Earnestly implement the institutional arrangement of increasing super deduction of R&D expenses from 75% to 100%, and speed up the transition in traditional sectors. Third, we will support R&D in both startups and mature companies. We will further implement preferential policies for high-tech companies, incubators, and venture capital, so as to help startups to grow itself. We will implement high-tech corporate income tax preferential policy and help matured companies grow stronger. Fourth, we will support both hardware and software development. First, on the one hand, we will implement the policies for accelerated depreciation of fixed assets to support equipment upgrading. And on the other, we will grant high-tech professionals and researchers preferential policies on equity incentives and application bonus. so as to enhance their creativity and transform soft strength into real results. Thank you. Next question. The 20th National Congress have emphasized that enhancing people's livelihood is a focus. What are the measures taken by STA?
Thank you for the question. General Secretary Xi Jinping stressed that people's aspiration for a better life is our ultimate goal. The taxation authorities seek to create wealth for the country and provide tax services to the people. By doing so, we will collect tax to provide solid financial resources in order to serve the people. Let me talk about three aspects. First, employment. Employment is the priority for the people. SMEs are major contributors to job opportunities. We are working in line with the decisions of the Central Committee and the State Council to implement the preferential tax policies such as VAT reduction for small-scale taxpayers, SMEs, and self-employed households. We are reducing the burden on 6 types of tax and 2 types of fees. In 2022, the above-mentioned policies have helped reduce tax and fee to the tune of 80 million business entities, among which 99% of SMEs and self-employed households were covered. The second, reducing burden. People care about education, medical care, and housing, etc. We are also working to alleviate the burden of the people in this aspect. Since 2018, the personal income tax reform have unleashed important policy impact. Children's education, further education, low interest, housing rent, treatment for major diseases, support for elderly, and childcare were added to the list eligible for special additional deductions. The first month for personal tax income, statistics show that more than 150 billion yuan has been cut. For people that will need to raise the old and the young, 110 billion yuan were cut to support the housing needs. We have adopted favorable tax policies for people who purchase their first homes or improve their housing demand. More than 200 billion yuan were cut in terms of tax in 2022. Third, social protection. After the reform, 1.3 billion insured people and all employers were covered by taxation authorities. We are optimizing our services. On one hand, we continue our tax and fee cuts. On the other, we work to ensure that people's pension money and life-saving money are guaranteed. We are working with relevant departments to roll out nationwide coordination of basic pension insurance, promote basic medical insurance, unemployment benefits, work injury insurances, long-term care insurance, and new employment forms of injury protection benefits. We have built the largest scale social safety net in China. People's livelihood is our priority. Going forward, we will work to serve the people, shoulder our responsibility to improve their livelihood, build a solid foundation for fiscal resources, and continue to improve our people's lives. Thank you. Let me add on that. Taxes are collected from the people and applied to improve people's livelihood. In late March, we worked with relevant departments at Renmin University High School, the High School of Renmin University, to introduce to the students our tax policy. One of the students asked me, why are you introducing tax policy into a high school campus? My answer to him is that the classrooms, sports facilities, your recreational equipment are important and useful, but you are not paying too much tuition fee. The question is, where does this fund come from? It comes from the tax payment of your parents and your grandparents. Their tax payment is mainly used to support the infrastructure building in schools, for education, for the young. Therefore, it is significant for students to know more about the tax policy and support what we are doing. People-oriented is the basic tenet of our tax policy. Thank you. Thank you. Since last year, relevant authorities are holding accountable any violation of tax laws. What are your plans in the future to continue to do so?
Thank you for your question. Taxation departments have always been putting efforts in enhancing the services and, meanwhile, enhance our efforts of cracking down on tax crimes, including tax evasion and tax fraud. In 2022, relevant departments investigated 128,000 households committing tax crimes, recovered taxation laws totaling 195.5 billion RMB, revealing 900 tax crimes, which effectively enhanced the taxation regulation. Looking forward, we will continue to focus on risk management based on targeted and comprehensive analysis, temper justice with mercy, emphasize both on deterrence and effectiveness. We will adopt both forceful and appropriate law enforcement measures so as to resolutely safeguard the taxation security of the nation and protect the rights and interests of companies that abide by laws. First, we will continue to focus on taxation risks and promote targeted governance. We will improve the credit plus risks regulation system. Targeting the general taxation crimes, we will adopt a 5-step method. First, we'll give them alarms, and then we'll request an overhaul. And finally, we will give them regulatory talks. so that the majority of taxpayers can have the opportunity to correct themselves, so as to show the flexibility in taxation law enforcement. However, targeting those who refuse to correct, we will file for investigation. And on those cases with serious circumstances and influence, we will adopt strict measures so as to show the forcefulness of law enforcement. Second, we will guard against tax fraud and make joint efforts with other departments. Crimes that do not create social wealth but only disrupt market order include fake companies issue fake invoices, fake export for tax fund, and fake declaration. Together with the Public Security Ministry and other departments, we will launch regular campaigns to crack down on such crimes and increase our intensity in the effort. Third, we will ensure the implementation of policies and advance inspection. The STA will implement special campaigns to ensure policy implementation, and we will crack down on tax agencies involved in fake publicity and taxation planning. We will never allow those criminals from benefiting from preferential policies. Besides, we'll investigate into government officials who failed to perform their duties in related crimes, especially those who colluded with criminals. They will receive heavy penalty, and we will take strict measures to address the root causes by showing up weak links in taxation regulation. Besides, today, the STA and local and municipal bureaus will review 7 crimes related to taxation, and will encourage you to closely follow this news. Next question, please. As we all know, tax revenue is the foundation of national finance. And what is the information about tax revenue in the first quarter, and what are the future trends? Thank you. Thank you for your question. Collecting tax and fees is the primary task of taxation departments. By earnestly implementing the decision and deployment of the Central Committee and the State Council, we have collected taxes and fees in accordance with law and fully implemented preferential policies. We never seek overtaxation. In the first quarter, despite the impact of COVID-19 at the end of last year, high numbers last year, and the influence of tax refunds and cuts policies, the aggregate tax revenue of the first quarter totaled 4.6 trillion RMB, up by 0.5%. With this number, we have set off to a good start of this year. Just now, the Commissioner, Mr. Wang, said that in the first quarter, company revenue was up by 4.7% year-on-year. It seems that there is a difference between the two numbers. It is because that there is a 1-month lag in tax reporting. Tax revenue in the first quarter actually represents the economic activities of last December and the first 2 months of this year. While sales revenue of companies represents business operation of this quarter, so there is 1 month lag between the two statistics. I'll give you more numbers on the first quarter of tax revenue. From January to March, tax revenue was down by 1.2%, up by 0.1% and 5.2% respectively. We have achieved positive growth, and the number has shown an upward trend. It also represents that supporting policies introduced by the Central Committee and the State Council continued to deliver, and the national economy is now rebounding at a faster pace. In the first quarter, local tax revenue was up by 2.5% year-on-year. 2 percentage points higher than the national average. Geographically, in the first quarter, tax contribution from Beijing, Tianjin, Shanghai, Jiangsu Province, Zhejiang Province, Fujian Province, Shandong Province, and Guangdong Province to central finance were up by 2.2% year-on-year, 1.7 percentage points higher than the national average. Besides, social insurance contribution in the first quarter hit 1.9 trillion RMB, safeguarding timely and full distribution of pension and medical insurance. Besides, other revenue, including non-tax revenue, supplementary insurance, and occupational pension, hit 1.3 trillion RMB. Therefore, tax revenue in the first quarter of 2023 totaled 7.97 trillion RMB. In the second quarter, we expect that supporting policies rolled out by the Central Committee and the State Council will continue to deliver, consolidating the foundation of the economic recovery. Besides, given a relatively low number in the second quarter last year because of tax refund, we expect faster growth of tax revenue in the second quarter. We will continue to collect taxes and fees in accordance with law, enhance the quality of revenue, avoid overtaxation, and lay a solid foundation for national finance and high-quality development. Next question, please. This year will be the 10th year for taxation departments to launch special campaign to facilitate public access to taxation services. What are the measures taken by the department?
Thank you for your question. General Secretary Xi Jinping has made it very clear that we need to serve the people and rely on the people. For us, working in the administration, we are to collect taxes and fees. It is more important to deliver on the instructions of General Secretary. Over the past 9 years of our special campaign to make it more convenient for people to access tax services, we have rolled out 539 initiatives. Relevant departments at different levels have rolled out supporting measures to the tune of 41,000. All these have helped us achieve changes in 4 aspects. The 4 changes are as follows. We have shifted from mainly offline services to a combination of online and offline services. Second, we used to focus more on giving advice. Now, we are delivering our policy services more proactively. Third, in the past, we offer services that address common concerns. Now, we are making it more targeted, and we are addressing concerns of each and every individual. Fourth, we used to focus more on procedures. Now, we are providing better quality services. The taxpayers have told us that they now think that our services are more taxpayer friendly, and their burden is reduced. Since this year, we have collected the suggestions and opinions from the taxpayers and from our community level tax officials. We are working to implement the decisions of the Central Committee and State Council. We have introduced 42 new measures to improve tax services. Just last week, I was in Henan and Shanxi. My observation is that these new initiatives are already delivered. In my conversations with taxpayers, they told me that the preferential tax policies made clear by the State Council on March 24, namely the 6 preferential tax policies, are their concerns. They want to see these policies delivered more rapidly and effectively so that they can benefit from them. As soon as I know their concerns, I come back and we look into their concerns very carefully. By last night, we have decided to roll out additional 20 new measures, namely the third batch of new services. For instance, faster implementation of our tax-related policy with regard to different entities. In the past, we used to roll out policies in a package. Now, we will put them in different baskets and roll out the policies in a more targeted fashion so that more targeted services will be provided to our taxpayers. Moreover, on key policies with regard to the super deduction of R&D expenses, we are working with relevant departments to design a special event that will last for a month that focus specifically on SMEs. In addition, we will extend the length or the validity of our policy to support export-oriented companies. To make things more convenient for our taxpayers, we are improving our services so that people can access services online, and automatic calculation, automatic form filling will be offered so that taxpayers can reap the benefits of our tax deduction, and we will make things easier for them. From the 1st of April, we have started a campaign to inform our people and let them know more about our tax policy. We will put our focus on improving the services so that we will substantiate and further deliver our policies in a more targeted and detailed fashion. We know that improvement of our services will be an ongoing process. Satisfaction of our taxpayer will be the criteria we use to assess our performance. Going forward, we will utilize technologies, apply them to our services. There will be the fourth and even the fifth batch of service improvement measures. For instance, in the near future, we will adopt a pilot program to offer bilingual services for companies transferring shares of their companies, even if they are doing it in a transnational way. We will also make it more convenient for companies to start their businesses. Once they start to operate, they will be able to apply for tax-related invoices. For companies, big companies that have a good credit record, and for self-employed households, we will make it more convenient for them to apply for invoices. And we will roll out these policies in a wider scale. We will improve the quality of our services so that the benefits of tax reduction can be spread across the country. This will enable our taxpayers and fee payers feel that they will have easier access to our services, more convenient way to apply for tax reduction, and better attitude in the services of our officials. I count on your supervision. Thank you very much. This is the end of our press conference today. Thank you all.